The story begins with a boy named Chen Yuan, who comes out from a luxury car alongside his girlfriend, instantly drawing the attention of everyone around them. The boys and girls on campus all cast envious glances their way, wishing they could be in their position. But unfortunately, all of that belonged to the past. Chen's family business had collapsed completely, leaving them drowning in over $1 million in debt. Because of this, Chen's life was turned upside down in a drastic and unforgiving way. Most of his so-called friends abandoned him, revealing that they were only interested in his wealth and not his company. To make matters worse, his girlfriend, Ijua, who had once seemed devoted, now wanted nothing to do with him and was determined to break up. She acted cold and indifferent, as if their entire relationship had been meaningless, and she had already found someone else to be with the moment she learned of Chen's family bankruptcy. In a desperate attempt to irritate her and her new boyfriend, Chen tried to tease the couple, but instead they left angrily without looking back. Alone and frustrated, Chen looked up at the sky, and at that exact moment, something extraordinary happened, something that would change his life forever. A strange window suddenly appeared floating in the sky above him, flashing a message that told him he needed to strive for a perfect life. The screen shifted to show various stats about his body and mind, including details about his health and wealth. Then, a new message popped up, declaring that this was a limited time event. Any money he spent on a girl during this period would be multiplied by 3. Chen was overwhelmed by disbelief and panic, convinced that he must be losing his mind. Just then, a young woman approached him, gently trying to comfort him. She told him that he shouldn't be acting this way over a breakup, and that he needed to focus on looking forward instead of dwelling on the past. To his surprise, this woman was actually his professor in college. As she spoke, Chen noticed a number along with some notes floating above her head, symbols that clearly represented her affinity toward him. This confirmed that the system he had seen wasn't just a hallucination or a trick of the mind. Intrigued and hopeful, Chen decided to test the system's legitimacy since his teacher fit the criteria for the event. If he spent money on her, it should return to him multiplied. So before she left, he took her hand gently and bought her some milk tea as a small gesture of thanks for her kindness. To his amazement, the money immediately appeared in his bank account, proving that the system was real. As he thought about this, Chen realized that as long as her affinity toward him stayed above 60, he could exploit the system to get a substantial amount of money back. This opportunity could be his way out of the massive debt his family was drowning in and a path to becoming wealthier than ever before. However, he faced a problem. He didn't have much money to start spending. To the eyes of his teacher, Chen was just a young kid burdened with a family in debt. If he wanted her to accept expensive gifts, he had to be careful and thoughtful about how he approached the situation. Luckily, he already had a bag that had been thrown into his room recently, a bag that was worth nearly $5,000. His plan was to tell her it was just a knockoff brand, hoping that she would accept it without suspicion. With this plan in mind, Chen went to her apartment and told her that he wanted to give her a token of appreciation for all the times she had helped him in the past. Upon seeing the bag, she was genuinely surprised because it didn't look like a cheap bag at all. She hesitated at first and didn't want to accept the gift, but Chen quickly reassured her, saying that it was indeed a cheap knockoff and that he wouldn't recklessly spend a large amount of money on a gift. Convinced by his explanation, she accepted the bag. Then she invited him inside for dinner. Chen accepted because he knew that staying close to her would help increase her affinity toward him, which meant he could get more money back from the system. Shortly after, Chen received a notification on his phone showing that nearly $15,000 had been deposited into his bank account. Owning $15,000 was new to him, but the feeling of having earned it through this system gave him an exhilarating sense of freedom and satisfaction. During dinner, he asked where her boyfriend was, and she told him that she was single. While she was trying to untie her apron, Chen quickly stepped forward to help her. At that moment, her sister suddenly entered the room, catching them in a somewhat awkward position. She introduced her little sister, Li Meng, to Chen. Chen tried to be friendly and polite, but Li Meng said she wasn't feeling well, so Chen quickly excused himself and left the house. As he left, the teacher told her sister that Chen looked like he was up to no good and maybe trying to win her heart. Afterwards, Chen wondered who he should spend money on next since his relationship with his teacher wasn't likely to work out. Unlike his ex-girlfriend, his teacher didn't seem like someone who was only after money. Suddenly, Chen bumped into his friend Lao Huang, who appeared to be having a very bad day. Lao confided that his crush had gone to the movies with some rich guy named Li Jianpeng. Her name was Fang Minhui. Out of nowhere, Fang showed up with her friend, relieving Lao because she hadn't gone to a motel room with that guy. Chen noticed that the number above her head, representing her affinity toward him, was actually higher than his teacher's. Minhui and her friend were talking about Shen. It turned out that Shen had been Minhui's childhood crush, but he never gave her a chance before. Her friend spoke ill of him, saying how cocky he remained even after losing all of his money. Because of this, Minhui started losing interest. Shen, however, did not want to just sit back and watch the affinity meter between them decrease. He asked his Lao if it was okay for him to pursue Minhui, and his Lao said it was fine, as long as it was him and not that other guy. So Shen decided to approach Minhui and try to be friendly. He asked her if she was free tomorrow since he had already booked a table at an expensive sushi restaurant. Both of them were surprised by this. The place was really fancy. Shen then mentioned that after they finished eating, he wanted her help to buy a gift for his sister. Minhui felt uncertain about this, but her friend assured her it would be fine. Shen was handsome, and his family might bounce back to their previous status at least. Besides, she would lose nothing by going out with him. The next day, they really went together to the restaurant. Minhui tried to start some conversation with him. She asked why he had invited her in the first place, and whether it was really just to choose a gift for his sister. Shen then admitted that he had always wanted to ask her out for dinner. He noticed that the affinity meter had decreased slightly. Minhui wasn't satisfied with his answer, so Shen quickly added that he still remembered how she used to buy him drinks and chat with him online back in the day. She was surprised to hear that he remembered those small gestures, and her affinity for him increased. After they finished eating, Shen went to check out and pay the bill, which came to $300. He paid without hesitation. Minhui was flattered by this, and her affinity increased significantly. She thought that he wasn't stingy even with his family's financial situation, unlike the last guy she went out with. That guy was using his family's money but spent the bare minimum on her. Suddenly, another system window popped up, saying that for every 3 affinity points, the refund Shen received from the female he spent money on would be doubled. So from that meal alone, he earned $1,300 just like that. Minhui was slowly starting to develop feelings for him. It was definitely the power of money. She grabbed his hand and led him to the mall to pick out a gift for his sister. By mere coincidence, they ran into his ex-girlfriend Wan Ting and her new boyfriend. Minhui felt a little jealous since Wan Ting had just dumped Shen yesterday, and now he was already out with a girl. Wan Ting's boyfriend was still irritated from the last time he met Shen, wondering how a student drowning in debts could be in a place like that. Wan Ting asked Shen why he was there. Shen told her that he was picking a gift for his sister. Wan Ting's boyfriend tried to tease him, telling him to go to the toy market if he wanted to buy a gift. But since everyone knew about Shen's financial situation, he shouldn't pretend to still be wealthy because no one would laugh at him for that. After they finished talking, another system window popped up above Shen's head, saying that a new task required him to spend money on a female and raise others' negative emotions. Doing so, his refund would multiply. Shen took this as a chance to irritate Wan Ting and her boyfriend even more, so he followed them inside the toy store. The cashiers there were talking ill about Shen and his family, and they didn't seem happy to see him inside the store. Wan Ting finished choosing a set of toys for herself and asked her boyfriend Jun to pay. The cashiers complimented her taste and suggested some accessories to go along with what she bought, even though they were a bit pricey. On the other side, Shen was telling Minhui to choose a gift to her liking. The gifts she chose totaled nearly $7,000. Wan Ting was watching them from afar. To show off in front of her ex-boyfriend, she told Jun to buy her the full set that cost more than $10,000. He wasn't sure about spending that much money on her, but then Shen told the cashier that he wanted the 2 bags and to add the full set of accessories recommended earlier for Wan Ting. Everyone was shocked because they thought Shen was broke. The accessories and bags ended up costing $19,000. Shen brought out his card and said he would pay. They were still in disbelief. Wan Ting furiously asked where he had gotten that much money to buy all those things. Shen stood his ground and told Wan Ting's boyfriend to buy her another bag, saying it shouldn't be much trouble for him. But he ran away pretending to be on a call, so they both left. The affinity level between Shen and Minhui dropped into the negatives. Shen gave the bag and gifts to Minhui. She tried to refuse, saying that the gifts were for his sister and she couldn't take them. But he insisted that she accept the gifts since he couldn't give them to his sister. She would tell their parents, and he would have a hard time explaining his situation. She accepted the gift, and he told her this was just the beginning, and they had plenty of time ahead of them. At that moment, a system window popped up congratulating Shen for finishing the task and notifying him that over $100,000 had been sent to his bank account. He only said one thing to himself: money farm, meaning she was like a source of income, so he had to take good care of her and make sure her affinity level did not drop at all. He told her that it was almost time for school to start again, so she should hurry back to class without wasting any time. Back in the college hallway as he was walking, he suddenly encountered some of his old friends who had previously abandoned him. They commented on how classy he looked now, especially with Min Huin by his side, and suggested they should hang out later. However, he completely ignored their words and didn't respond to them at all. He simply walked past them and entered his room, where his roommate was waiting for him, and asked if he had heard about Li Jianpeng, and how Li wanted the entire school to know that he went to school with Min Huin. Shen told his roommate not to worry about that, and said Li's glory days wouldn't last very long. Min Huin wasn't going to be his anyway. His roommate told him to stop being so cocky, reminding him that they had gone to the movies together last night, and now she wasn't replying to his messages. Clearly, she was with Li Jianpeng. Shen wasn't listening. All he could think about was money. He had a lot of money now, so he thought he should go check back on his home and see how things were there. When he arrived at his house, standing right in front of him was his uncle. His father instructed Shen to go to his room because he wanted to discuss some important matters with his uncle. Shen overheard the conversation as his father tried to negotiate his debts with his brother. However, his uncle was very rigid and demanded full payment within the upcoming days. Shen listened carefully to their conversation from behind his room's door. His mother told his uncle that he shouldn't be so strict since they were family and had helped him a lot in the past. She also reminded him that he didn't have any urgent expenses right now, so there was no need to nag about money. The uncle replied that they were lucky to be family because this allowed them to talk calmly and work something out. If they were strangers, they would have faced aggressive debt collection instead. The conversation became more heated as another window popped up in Shen's vision, telling him that a perfect life shouldn't be burdened by debts. The next task he received was to pay off personal and family debts with a reward of $130,000, which was exclusively meant for car expenses. This task came at a perfect time for him. Still, even if there had been no task, Shen would have helped his parents pay off their debts anyway. Before his mother could decide to sell her jewelry to help pay the debts, Shen stopped her. He told them that he already had the money needed. They were stunned to see that he had sent enough money to cover the entire debt. He explained that he had invested in cryptocurrency and was lucky enough to let it grow, recently cashing out a significant amount. They used the money to pay off his uncle and ordered him to leave the house and never contact them again. His uncle ran away from the house immediately, having come to their home thinking they wouldn't be able to pay off the debt. He had suspected they might have started a new business he didn't know about, which could help them bounce back. But by now, he had already ruined his relationship with them. Back to Shen, his window hologram updated to show that the task was fulfilled and the money was sent to him, nearly $300,000 in total. Even though half of the amount was limited only for car expenses, if he wanted to pay off his family's debts fully, he would need much more money. He realized he needed to invest whatever money was left after these expenses. Still, he could help his family for now with $30,000. He told them he still had some money that he hadn't withdrawn yet if they wanted to take it. His mother refused the offer, but his father asked for just a portion of the money to help with their needs. After leaving the house, Shen stumbled upon his teacher unexpectedly. He was surprised to see her and took the opportunity to ask if she would like to go to dinner with him. Out of nowhere, her sister appeared, acting like his biggest nemesis and immediately ruining his plan to spend time with his teacher. Shen excused himself and left quickly. The sister warned her to be careful of him. The teacher replied that Shen only wanted to eat with her, and even if he had other intentions, she would not accept them. As Shen walked cluelessly, his thoughts drifted back to the large amount of money he had that he could spend on cars. He messaged Min Huin and asked her to come with him to check out some cars. Min Huin's friend saw the messages and tried to tease her, but Min Huin told her that they weren't dating yet. An hour later, Shen and Min Huin were at a car dealership, looking around at different vehicles. The car agent recognized Min Huin and asked what she was doing there. He confessed he had a big crush on her back in high school. He asked if they were there to look at some cars that might interest them. Shen told the agent that he wanted to see the M9 model. The most basic version of that car cost more than $80,000. Shen was dressed very casually, so the agent assumed he had only brought Min Huin along to show off. The agent, confident and trying to impress Huin, attempted to talk to her again, and asked if she was free that night. Shen interrupted their conversation and told the agent to arrange a test drive so he could see the car properly. The agent was not irritated and explained that he couldn't arrange it because his boss had taken the test, driving car that morning. Shen wasn't new to the field and knew the agent was lying, so he asked the receptionist to give him another salesman who could help him test the car. Then, a beautiful young woman approached them and introduced herself. Her name was Chen Na, and she was a sales consultant. The first salesman showed no interest whatsoever. He was convinced that Shen was too broke to actually buy the car and assumed he was merely trying to show off in front of Min Huin. Meanwhile, Chen La was carefully explaining the car and all its features to Shen in detail. He found himself genuinely impressed by her professionalism, but even more so by her stunning beauty. With each passing second, his thoughts became increasingly distracted and less innocent. She then asked him if he was familiar with the specifications of this particular model and inquired about his budget. Shen confidently told her that he wanted to take the car home today without hesitation. Chen-la was taken by surprise because usually customers spend several days test driving and browsing before they make a decision, yet Shen had already made up his mind without even asking about the price. She assured him that she could have a car ready for him immediately. He confirmed that he wanted to place the order today without delay. After Chen-la left the showroom, the other guys working at the store asked her how things went. They were all shocked when she told them that Shen had already bought the car. The first salesman, however, remained skeptical and said that Shen was probably just showing off and would run away when the time came to actually pay for the vehicle. Back to Shen, he completed all the necessary paperwork quickly and efficiently. Chen-la got a little carried away and tried to flirt with him, but Min Huin intervened, grabbing Shen and hurrying him outside so they could catch a taxi back home. Shen asked if they should go eat already. Since he barely responded, Min Huin knew that he was upset and jealous about what had happened earlier. She asked him firmly not to repeat that behavior next time. Even though she was not officially in a relationship with Shen, she was genuinely worried and wanted to find a way to keep him close for herself. Shen promised her he wouldn't do it again, but deep down he knew that promise was just a lie. He then offered to take her out to eat and afterwards buy her another gift. She initially refused his offer, but he insisted, telling her that it was normal for a girl to want gifts. He said anything just to convince her to accept. More gifts meant spending more money, but that was exactly what he was thinking. They went to a restaurant, where Shen asked if she wanted a cold or a hot drink. Her mind immediately jumped to the idea that he was trying to find out if she was on that time of the month or not. She felt shy and asked for a cold drink. 3 hours later, they walked together. She wore all the jewelry he had bought her, and she was slowly falling in love with him, her affection growing by the minute. Meanwhile, he was busy looking at his bank balance increasing as he bought her expensive clothes and accessories. He knew the money he spent was coming back to him doubled. He asked her not to go back to the dorm that night, and together they booked a room in a motel. After he took a shower, she waited for him inside the room. Her friend texted her, asking where she was, but she refused to tell her that she was alone in a hotel with Shen. She felt the need to return the favor for all the things he had bought her. Shen finished his shower and joined her in the room. He started teasing her, and the mood quickly became tense as their excitement grew. She asked him to be gentle, and soon they were intimate. They finished after about half an hour. They enjoyed their time together. It wasn't as scary as her friend had described it to be. They laid down, and Shen was very tired since he hadn't exercised in a while. She moved closer and asked if they could have a second round. He told her to give him some time to rest first, but she was too excited and insisted that she wanted more right now. The next day in the morning, he found out that the system gave him refunds whenever he paid off debts of certain amounts. Excited by this, he wanted to clear all the debts he owed right away. Especially, he owed some money to his friend Li Yuhang, who had never left him even when his family went bankrupt. His roommate appeared suddenly and asked where he had been last night. Since he didn't return to the dorm, he wanted to know where he had stayed for the night. He told him that Li Jianpeng was throwing a party to celebrate buying his new car, and everyone was going. Shen said he refused to go, but suddenly a system window popped up again. This time it told him that the next task was to invest all his money within a week. It also said that all commercial-related ventures would return double the amount. It was perfect timing since he didn't know what to do with all his money. Then he received a text from his friend Li Yuhang, inviting him to go out for dinner and drinks to relax. That night, inside a private room, the guests were waiting impatiently. They kept asking who exactly they were waiting for. Li Yuhang told them they could wait a little longer for Shen Yuan, though they didn't like the idea of him coming since they thought he was just a broke guy from a family all in debt. but Lee was able to convince them to wait. Lin asked his cousin if his girlfriend was coming to the gathering. His cousin told him that she was just late because she was stuck in traffic. Lin was envious of his cousin. He thought their family always depended on him, and without his help, they wouldn't even have the right to be in this gathering. His jealousy grew even more because his cousin had a beautiful and attractive girlfriend. Since they weren't married yet, Lin thought he still had a chance with her. Suddenly, Shen opened the door and apologized for being so late. He explained that he was delayed due to heavy traffic along the road and the taxi driver being bad. Lin tried to make fun of him and told him how lucky he was to have his own personal driver. Not long after, a young woman entered the room, also saying she was late because of the traffic. She was Haiji's girlfriend. Haiji stood up and introduced her to the group, feeling superior. Even though he didn't have more money than anyone else in the room, at least he had a prettier girl than all of them. She was the sales representative from yesterday who sold the car to Shen. She recognized him but tried to act as if this was their first meeting. After 40 minutes, Li Yuhong stood up and said he wanted to upgrade the bar he was planning to set up. Since they were all his best friends, he asked if anyone was interested in investing with him in the business. He was willing to give 30% of the shares. Suddenly, everyone went silent. No one wanted to say anything. Lin knew that his family earned tens of millions, so Li's need for money was probably because his father had cut off funding from all the failed businesses he tried. Lin's cousin said it would be best to lend Li money and then have him pay it back later, which would make him own all the shares and avoid giving away 30%. Lin felt fairly disappointed. They always used him for his money and parties and didn't hesitate to ask for cash. But now they turned their backs on him as if they had nothing to do with him before. He wanted to do business with them, but all their offers would only put him deeper in debt. It didn't make sense. He clearly talked about investing and partnering, but they turned it into a loan. He told them that if no one was interested, they could just forget it. Lin agreed and said they should just eat and chill. Shen thought to himself that he hadn't seen their faces since his family went bankrupt. How could he pin his hopes on these hungry people? When Li was about to leave the room, Shen stopped him and told him he wanted to invest with him. Everyone was shocked to hear that come from him. They started laughing and making fun of him. They told him he didn't need to show off when he had nothing to offer. Chen Na found it weird that they were calling him broke while showing off. She knew he bought an expensive car yesterday, so he could definitely invest the same amount of money now. He didn't respond to them and told Li that he had already transferred the money into his bank account. He checked his phone and was stunned to actually see the money there. Shen wasn't joking. They were all in shock to see that too. One by one, they all left, each feeling embarrassed after realizing that the money was indeed transferred to his bank account. Chen Na then told her boyfriend to leave as well. He asked her again if she was truly certain that he really had that much money. She firmly told him that he had bought an M9 and paid for it entirely in cash. Hearing this, he was stunned and asked why she hadn't told him from the very beginning that he was rich. Interrupting him, she said that she wanted to break up because she had finally understood what kind of person he really was. Only Li and Shen remained. Li told Shen that if he had known he was that wealth beforehand, he wouldn't have gone through. The trouble of organizing that meeting at all, it would have been a complete waste of money. Shen responded that now he understood they were not trustworthy people, so he should avoid depending on them for anything going forward. For the next half hour, the two of them discussed in detail what they would do with the bar, including the type of decor and interior design they wanted it to have. Li was impressed by Shen's extensive knowledge about business matters. Shen, however, didn't think much of it and said that he didn't want to bother checking on the bar every single day. Li admitted he was also too busy to manage it himself, so he suggested hiring a manager to take care of day-to-day operations. Later, Shen messaged Chen Na and told her he wanted to ask her about some details regarding the car, but he preferred to speak to her face to face. She agreed, so he invited her to meet him at a restaurant inside a mall. Shen found Chen Na very attractive and sexy, so he felt that spending money on her wouldn't be a waste. Since Min Huin was his only money farm so far, he wanted to add Chen Na to his list as well. The next day, Chen was already waiting for him, sitting at a table inside the restaurant. She was getting increasingly impatient because Shen was running late. Meanwhile, the general manager of the workplace where she worked came across her and tried to flirt with her. He told his friends to go eat somewhere else and leave him alone with her. They joked among themselves, wondering if he really had a chance with her or not. But they all agreed that a beautiful woman like Chen Na wouldn't come to a place like that alone. She must have been there to meet someone else. The manager approached her and greeted her, but she told him she already had a date with a friend. She warned him to stay away since he already had a family. He replied that this wasn't an issue for him and that he could get a divorce whenever he wanted. Her ex-boyfriend had heard that she was meeting someone at the restaurant, so he rushed over to the place. He saw her sitting with the overweight manager and mistakenly assumed they were having an affair. Without hesitation, he punched the manager in the face, causing a fight to break out. Shen arrived at the scene unaware of what was going on. He quickly grabbed Chen by the arm and told her they needed to leave immediately. They got into her car and started chatting on the way. She told him she had only been with her boyfriend for 2 weeks, but had already realized how terrible he was at the gathering the previous day. She was worried because the man who flirted with her and got punched was her boss, and now she feared she might face trouble or even lose her job because of it. Shen told her that her boss didn't deserve her and that she could easily find better job opportunities if she looked around. She replied that it wasn't that easy, as she would have to start all over and lose the customers she had spent years building trust with. She added that her current job was very tiring, and she wanted to change, perhaps open a cafe or something. Similar, but opening a cafe would cost a lot of money. Shen reassured her not to worry about the financial aspect, and asked what she would do if someone was willing to invest in the business. She said that she would quit her current job immediately and work for him. He told her to quit now and promised to invest $40,000 the next day, and she would work directly for him. She was surprised by this and felt her affinity level toward him increase. He had hit the jackpot. Although he had worried about winning her over, now he had found another money tree to invest in. She asked if he was being serious or just joking around. Shen assured her he was absolutely serious and willing to pay her $1,600 per month plus bonuses. If the business went well, he would also buy her a new car worth $30,000, since the one she had was quite old. She was amazed by the offer. The salary was good, and she wouldn't have to worry about sales pressure. But then she thought about Manhwa and wondered if Shen just wanted to keep her around for entertainment and nothing more. She told him that the offer sounded good, but she didn't want to be trapped like a bird in a cage, merely being treated as a third wheel. Shen told her not to worry, explaining that he planned to invest more in the business and open a chain of bars in the future. Their relationship would be strictly professional, just boss and employee. She said she would think about it. At that moment, Shen received a message from Manhwa asking if he was free that night. She wanted to go out and have a cold drink with him. He told her he could meet up, but they needed to keep things casual. He excused himself from Chen and left to meet Manhwa. He went to the hotel room they had visited last time. Manhwa greeted him with a hug, saying she had missed him, but then she sniffed his clothes and said he smelled like another woman. He told her it must be Chen Na's scent since he had been with her in the car. She pushed him away angrily and asked if he was secretly seeing other women behind her back. He hugged her and reassured her that he only had eyes for her. He explained that today he was just at the dealership handling paperwork, and her heavy perfume probably stuck to his clothes. Manhwa told him it was okay, but warned him to tell her beforehand next time if he went out with another girl and to keep his distance from Chen Na. Shen agreed with everything she said, knowing that the system didn't care if he was faithful or not. The task only required him to spend money on females, and he couldn't afford to stick to just one money tree. That would be a waste. She said she was going to take a shower, but he stopped her and kissed her teasingly, saying he liked her scent before she showered. She joked that she liked his smell too. They kissed and played for a long time in bed and made love for hours. Afterwards, she asked if they could do it once more. Shen was already tired and sweaty, but was impressed by her energy. At least she was happy. He noticed that her affinity level had increased to 90 after today's encounter. This kind of intimacy raised her affinity by a significant amount. A notification from the system popped up. It said that the host had a female member with an affinity level above 90, so the affinity task was complete and the reward would be given. He received a lottery ticket worth $150,000, a spending voucher for another $150,000, and gained a skill called Ruthless and Power. He was happy about the lottery ticket since it would be easier to explain where the money came from. When he clicked the screen showing the newly gained skill, his body became visibly more muscular, and he could clearly feel energy flowing through him. It seemed the system gave him rewards based on what he needed, but only once he reached an affinity level of 90. That would be a difficult goal. Even though Li Xiao had an affinity level of 60, it would take a long time to get her to 90. He needed to advance step by step. He didn't know when a girl with an affinity level of 90 would appear, or what reward he would receive. But he didn't want to worry about that yet. What mattered now was testing the new power skill the system had given him. He went back to Manhwa and told her he could keep going as much as she wanted. They got intimate again, and she enjoyed it but sensed something different about him. Meanwhile, Chen Na was in her room talking to her friend on the phone. She told her friend about Shen helping her open a cafe and buying her a car, but she wasn't sure if he was genuinely interested in her or not. Her friend said that he was probably just a scammer. Chen defended him, saying she had met him a couple of times and even sold him a car. Her friend told her to go for it. If he was young, handsome, and rich, she had nothing to lose, even if he was much younger than her. Chen Na interrupted and said the problem was that he already had a girlfriend. Her friend said that a wife and girlfriend weren't the same. Even if he was married, it didn't matter. She could easily take him away. Chen told her to calm down. It didn't make sense. Her friend said that if she didn't want him, she would take him and would deal with anything he had and dump her boyfriend for him. Chen didn't like what she was saying but stayed silent, thinking about him. Back in the hotel room, Shen was with Shen and Huin, and she asked him why he seemed so different all of a sudden, as if he had become noticeably stronger than before. They had been intimate twice in the last 40 minutes. He turned towards her and softly asked if she wanted to do it once more, telling her that this time he wanted her to take the lead and be on top. Although she felt a bit hesitant at first, she eventually agreed and topped him, and they enjoyed themselves all night. Sorshira Stern Thakayar. The next day, Min Huin returned to the dormitory, while Shen stayed in the hotel room because he didn't have any classes scheduled in the morning. He took a moment to check the lottery ticket he had received earlier, and to his amazement, the total was almost $900,000. This amount of money was enough to pay off all the debts his family owed and allow them to live a comfortable, happy, and luxurious life afterward. Without wasting any time, he went directly to his parents to share the good news. He called for his mother and told his father to come and see the ticket for themselves. He excitedly told them that he had won $900,000. At first, they didn't believe him, but when he showed them the ticket, both of them were shocked and relieved because this meant they could finally pay off the many debts they had accumulated over time. Shen reassured them that he would only take a portion of the money for himself and that they could do whatever they pleased with the rest. They happily agreed to this arrangement. Then Shen told them that he wanted to start a business. His parents warned him that it would be a difficult path, but acknowledged that having such a mindset at a young age was commendable. Jumping to Chen Na and her boss was scolding her harshly because of the injury he had sustained yesterday, which was caused by her boyfriend. She told him firmly that she had broken up with that boyfriend a while ago and that she had nothing to do with him anymore. The boss, unwilling to accept this, tried to blame her in order to gain leverage over her, since he still thought he had a chance with her. He threatened that he would take away all her commission money for this month and leave her with only the base salary of around $400, which was far from enough to cover her monthly rent. Chen Na became irritated and told him that if he was going to play such games, she would rather quit. And then she left the room. As she walked away, she remembered Shen's offer. Even though he was young, he appeared very professional and dealt with situations calmly. Working for him seemed like a good opportunity. She made up her mind and filed her resignation application. Then, she texted Shen, telling him that she was ready to quit and was interested in working for him. Shen replied that this was the right decision and told her to check out some local options, and if she found something suitable, they could move forward with it. Shen also made up his mind to help her. He was walking toward his Professor Lee's home. When he entered, he saw her moving some heavy stuff. She told him that she wanted his help to move the office, since many things were too heavy for her to carry alone. They needed to relocate the entire office to another room. As she tried to reach for something on a high shelf, he stepped in to help and picked the item out from behind her. She suddenly felt very embarrassed because their bodies were so close, even touching. She began to wonder if he might really have some feelings for her. Suddenly, some students came into the room. She quickly stepped away from Shen to avoid any awkwardness. They noticed that her face was very red. Shen told the students to hurry up and help pick up stuff to assist her with moving the office. She felt relieved that the students had interrupted the moment. At the same time, she thought to herself that Shen was becoming bolder and bolder by the second. What had happened at her home was already enough, and now he was trying to make a move on her again. Despite her hesitation, she couldn't deny that she had felt very excited earlier. Still, she tried to suppress those feelings because having any kind of affair with her students was not something she could afford. Shen noticed that her affinity level suddenly increased to 71 in that moment. He wondered if the earlier close contact had somehow boosted her feelings toward him. He hadn't intended to touch her from behind, but her body curves had been in the way, making it impossible to avoid. This thought kept replaying in his mind. Later, at a cafe near the college, two girls were sitting with John Peng. talking about how cool it was that he had bought a really expensive car. This purchase put him in the top 99.99% of college students, at least in terms of wealth. However, Jean thought to himself that these girls were just gold diggers. They had rejected him before, but now, since he had money, they were all eager to be around him. While they were chatting, Jean noticed Chen Na. He was astonished by her natural beauty. The girls noticed Shen getting into a Yao Yao M9 car, and they were amazed since they couldn't believe he owned such an expensive vehicle. Shen approached and sat next to Chen Na. John was surprised to see that this beautiful girl was actually waiting for Shen. Chen Na explained to him that she had asked the owner of the shop and that she would be arriving soon. When the owner finally arrived, she apologized for the delay. She greeted Shen and told him he looked too young to be running a business. Then she explained that her business wasn't doing well despite having a decent flow of customers. Because of many family issues and having to take care of her son, she had no choice but to transfer ownership of the cafe. The transfer fee was approximately $40,000. Shen thought about the situation for a moment. Although he had enough money to buy it outright, he still needed to pay Chen Na's first salary and cover some other expenses. So he offered $35,000. The price was lower than the owner expected, but she realized that if she didn't, except it would be difficult to find another determined buyer. Therefore, she agreed and told him to sign the agreement that very day. She called for the staff and asked her to show Shen around the place. Shen told her there was no need for that since he wouldn't be coming here often. Chen Na would be handling everything from this point onward. Meanwhile, Jean was getting angry because Shen was stealing the attention of the girls he liked. The cafe owner received a phone call and excused herself to take it. It was her husband, the same man who had been hit in the mall yesterday and was Chen Na's boss. Shen couldn't believe how terrible a man he was, abusing his power to harass employees despite having a family of his own. Shen said that he could no longer stand by and let this continue. She told him that she had recordings of the harassment, incidents involving him and other people. She planned to release them to the public once she received her salary. Shen advised her not to do that because she didn't know what he might do when he lost everything. He could become dangerous and harm someone. He told her not to worry about it, promising that he would deal with the situation in a way that wouldn't negatively affect her or his family at all. He also told her that he had transferred $7,000 to cover her salary for the next 2 months, as well as the money owed to the cafe shop owner. Suddenly, many system notifications popped up on his screen. The investment task was finally complete since he had invested all the money the system had given him this week. He received almost $1.5 million as a reward. The current task was to expand his investments using this newly acquired money. The reward for completing this task would be that his income would triple, and upon finishing the task, he would receive a mysterious industry. Shen was surprised by the system's rewards and tasks, but everything was going so well for him. The cafe owner came back and told him she had already received the money and shook hands with him. Shen was excited by the softness of her hand. Dirty thoughts about her entered his mind, and he said he hoped they would meet again. Shen and Chen Na went to an expensive sushi restaurant. She asked him if he came here very often. He told her that it was a special occasion, and he wanted to celebrate their new partnership in style. As he looked at her, his eyes were scanning her up and down, thinking to himself just how hot and attractive she truly was. He invited her to sit right next to him, then gently grabbed her by the waist and pulled her closer, making sure she was comfortable. His hand started caressing her body from behind in a slow, deliberate way. All she could think about was whether he genuinely wanted to make money from that cafe shop or if he had some other intentions in mind altogether. Even the owner had told her they would be lucky just to break even on the shop expenses. But for now, all she could offer was herself. While she was lost in these thoughts, Shen began unbuttoning her shirt slowly and kept feeling her soft skin beneath his fingertips, caressing her belly and lightly touching her thighs. Suddenly, they heard a voice from outside the room announcing that the food was ready. He immediately let the servers in. He tried his best to enjoy the food with her, savoring every bite. Meanwhile, she kept looking at him, noticing that he looked even more handsome up close. The only flaw she could find was that he was very reckless in his actions. He acted like this all the time outside, but she couldn't say anything about it since they were both in his own world now. About an hour later, after they had finished their meal, the total bill came to hundreds of dollars. Yet Shen wasn't losing anything. In fact, he earned triple that amount from the system's reward. As they were leaving, Chen told him that she wanted to go back to the cafe and talk about some things with the owner, and that she would start working there tomorrow. He replied that the cafe shop would be closed after half an hour and that if she went now, she would only be disturbing the owner. He suggested she go home and come back tomorrow instead. He kindly took her home, and once there, she asked if he could come up to her apartment for a drink because she felt very thirsty. She quickly added that it wasn't appropriate and that what happened earlier was already her limit. He reassured her, saying that if she didn't have another man in her apartment, then there was nothing inappropriate about going inside to get some water. But if she wanted him to stay over, he would gladly do so. Once inside, he grabbed her by the waist and pinned her gently against the wall. He kissed her deeply and whispered that he wanted another type of water. Outside the building, her ex-boyfriend was standing with a bunch of flowers in his hand, ready to apologize and win her back. He assumed she had quit her job for him and thought there might still be a chance between them. When he got to the door, he heard their moans and grew furious, knocking hard on the door. Shen recognized the voice, so he told Chen Na to come inside her room so they could continue. He grabbed her and laid her down on the bed. She told him it was her first time and asked him to be gentle. Meanwhile, her ex finally gave up and accepted defeat. They made love throughout the night. She was enjoying herself, but soon grew tired. He told her to lie on her back so she wouldn't feel as exhausted. They kept going all night long. The power granted by the system made him so energetic that he could continue without stopping. In the morning, he woke up to the smell of delicious breakfast. Chen Na was cooking for him. He thought it was a very warm and kind gesture. This was something only found in a real household, never in a hotel. Suddenly, a system window popped up again. It stated that to have a perfect life, he needed to own a personal space suitable for him and other women. The task required him to buy a property very close to Chen Na's apartment. The money he spent on buying the property would be doubled, and after the purchase, he would receive a mysterious property as a bonus. He got excited by the idea, thinking the mysterious property might be a big mansion, so he had to move quickly. Chen told him that the food was ready. He was curious to know what reward he would get after Chen Na reached level 90 affinity. He grabbed her again, feeling her curves and body, and told her he wanted to buy a house and gift it to her. She couldn't believe what she just heard. He had already spent so much money on her, buying her things, helping her invest in a cafe shop, and even purchasing a car. And now, he wanted to buy her a house as well. She felt she couldn't accept the offer so easily. She told him it was all happening too suddenly and reminded him that money doesn't grow on trees. But for him, it seemed like money was indeed growing on trees. No matter how much he spent on girls, the money always came back to him doubled or tripled. At that point, he already had over $500,000 ready to buy a house. If everything was done correctly, he would get nearly $2.5 million in return. He told her not to worry about money and said there was nothing wrong with buying a house for him and his woman, since the neighbors had probably already heard everything from last night. Her face turned bright red, but she suddenly remembered that she had invited 2 of her friends over to the cafe to show them the shop. She asked if they could see the house afterward. He told her that buying a house required too much time and that one evening wouldn't be enough to complete the paperwork and choose the house properly. So she told her friends that she had something urgent to deal with, but invited them to meet her tonight instead. Liu Menglu and Qian were in the car talking about Chen Na. Qian was skeptical about the cafe shop and thought the story about the rich guy was exaggerated. How could a man spend that much money on a girl he had only known for 2 weeks? But Chen wasn't the type to show off or lie, so they wanted to ask her in person what was really going on. They were shocked when Chen told them she was going with Shen to buy a house for herself. Menglu got very curious about Shen and who he really was to be spending so much money in such a short time on a woman he barely knew. She decided she must meet him immediately. She told Chen to find out where Chen was going so they could join and help choose a good deal since they had nothing else to do that day. They received the location and were stunned to see it was Songhu Tiandi. The smallest units there cost more than $150,000. Meng started feeling envious of Chen. They went upstairs and finally met with Chen Na and Shen. They greeted each other warmly, and Chen introduced her friends to him. Meng tried to flirt with Shen, telling him he had potential to get a nice body and suggested he should come to her gym. He flirted back easily, but Chen didn't think much of it, which made Meng suspect they were not actually a couple yet. Marks on Chen's knees showed they had a very rough time yesterday. Meng thought maybe Chen pleased him so well that he wanted to buy a house for her. Both their affinity levels were way above 60 and he noticed it. It was a sneaky move from them, but the more women he got, the more money he earned. So it was a win-win situation. They went to the staff to see what kinds of units were available. He told them he had $500,000 to spend, and wanted to see units around that price. The sales representative told him to move to the negotiation room for a more private discussion. Meng overheard everything and got even more interested in him. She wanted to steal him away from Chen. They began discussing prices and which unit he should take. Chen looked at him worriedly and told him it was too expensive. He reassured her it was okay and that she didn't need to worry. Both her friends felt jealous of her, realizing she had truly hit the jackpot finding a man like him. He wanted to pay in cash but was determined to bargain so they wouldn't take him for a fool. He told the saleswoman to bring out the best discounts they could offer. She replied that if he paid cash today, they could give him even bigger discounts. He said there was no need and that 2 extra parking spots would be enough. Meng looked at him with a sly smile, determined to win him over. She revealed more skin teasingly to get him excited, and it worked. All kinds of dirty thoughts filled his mind, but he forced himself to focus on the paperwork. After about half an hour, they finally finished signing all the paperwork. He had actually gone through with putting the house in Chen's name. The system refunded the money directly into his bank account, and as an added bonus, the mysterious reward he earned from completing the task was a luxurious villa located in a peaceful green city with a pleasant climate. He was informed that he would be able to claim this reward the following morning. Everyone around him was taken aback by how effortlessly he spent such a large amount of money. Even the staff member from the real estate office found herself intrigued by him. She told him they would be contacting him again soon and suggested that they exchange contact information in case he wanted to make another purchase in the future. He agreed and allowed her to scan his WeChat QR code to save his contact. Meng also stood up, saying that she might need his help in the future with some real estate matters and therefore wanted his contact as well. However, he walked away before she could scan his code. He told Chen that he had some other things to take care of and that they could carry on with their day by grabbing something to eat or drink. Meng felt rather offended by how casually he left, especially after sitting with her, admiring her beauty, without even bothering to have lunch with them. Roughly 30 minutes later, he made his way to the school cafeteria and spotted his teacher, sitting by herself at a table. She appeared to be deeply engaged in a serious phone conversation. Shen, sensing something was off, sat down next to her and asked what was going on. She went on to explain that the school was planning to launch a startup base specifically for college students. This project was designed to support students who wanted to start their own businesses by offering guidance, funding, and fresh ideas. However, the project was currently facing a major obstacle. 33. They didn't have the necessary funds to get it off the ground and were looking for help from outside companies. The only thing they had to offer in return was the potential of high-quality graduates, but unfortunately, their school simply couldn't compete with top-tier institutions. She expressed her deep concern, especially since she was scheduled to meet with the company's manager, and she feared the outcome might not be favorable. Seeing how troubled and stressed she looked, Shen felt an urge to do something to help. He considered the possibility of investing in the project himself, but he hesitated, unsure about whether it would be profitable. Still, he mentioned that he might be interested. At that moment, a system notification popped up right in the middle of their conversation. It informed him of a new task to invest in his college in order to boost his personal influence and power. By doing so, he would earn prestige points that he could later trade in for useful skills. This new mission came at the perfect time, erasing all his doubts about the investment's profitability. Now, he could step in and solve the problem without hesitation. As the primary investor, he would hold significant power in deciding which students would receive funding. He could even use this opportunity to strengthen his bond with the young female teacher by supporting her and increasing their affinity. He told her straight up that he wanted to invest in the startup base and showed her his bank balance to prove he was serious. At first, she didn't believe him at all, but when she saw the actual figures in his account, she was stunned. She asked him where he had managed to get so much money. He explained that before his family was buried in debt, he had invested in cryptocurrency, which had grown significantly over the years. He had just recently cashed out his profits. She still found it hard to believe that one of her students had become a multi-millionaire. He leaned closer to her and jokingly asked her to run away with him, promising to give her a luxurious life full of travel and comfort. She scolded him, reminding him not to think like that, and asked if he was really sure about investing in the school's project. Maybe, she said, he should take more time to consider it. He assured her with full confidence that he had made up his mind and didn't need any further convincing. She was genuinely impressed by how serious and mature he sounded. For a moment, inappropriate thoughts crossed her mind, but she quickly reminded herself that he was still her student and pushed those feelings away. She told him she would speak to the school authorities and then got up to leave. Later on, Chen sent him a photo of herself along with the coffee she had just made. He replied that it looked pretty bad and said he would drop by later to show her how it was supposed to be done. Outside, 3 female classmates were gossiping about Shen Yuan. They talked about how he had turned into a broke guy who probably had to take on part-time jobs ever since his family lost all their wealth. While they were chatting, they unexpectedly ran into Shen himself. They laughed and teased him, saying he looked like he was headed to work. One of them suggested they follow him to find out where he worked. She stood in his way and asked directly if he was busy with his part-time job. They joked that if he needed help, they'd be happy to support him. Shen was slightly offended that they assumed he had a part-time job, but he decided to play along and mess with them a bit. He told them that he worked at a coffee shop and invited them to come along and grab a drink while checking the place out, so they followed him and entered the shop. As soon as they walked in, they were shocked to see Chen Na and Meng inside. The two looked so elegant and out of place that the girls couldn't believe what they were seeing. Chen and Meng greeted him warmly and asked whether he had been spending time with those girls. He responded casually, saying that he had just come across them on the street and brought them along to grab a drink. He instructed his staff to serve the girls and added that their order would be on the house. The 3 girls were clearly taken aback, visibly stunned by the way Shen was being treated like someone of authority, almost like a boss in that setting. Embarrassed by how they had acted earlier, they quickly made up some excuses and left the shop. After they were gone, Meng once again tried to flirt with Shen, but he didn't give her much attention. He sat down on a bench, and Chen brought him a cup of coffee. He continued teasing and flirting with Chen, which only made Meng increasingly jealous. Trying to shift the focus of the conversation, she brought up his height and weight, saying she wanted to calculate his BMI. He told her that he was 182 centimeters tall and weighed around 72 kilograms, though he noted that he had lost a bit of weight recently due to regular workouts. Chen reacted with a bit of shyness, and Meng seemed to catch on quickly. She remarked that in her opinion, he needed to build a little more muscle to balance out his body. He replied that it was obvious she just wanted him to join her gym, and added that he'd think about it. Soon after, Meng mentioned that it was getting late and said she needed to head back. Just before leaving, she gave him a playful wink, and he was genuinely impressed by her boldness in doing that right in front of her friend. He silently promised himself that one day he would get her and add her to his collection. Now, alone with Chen, he asked her to follow him up to the 2nd floor for a bit of special training, saying that her skills still needed serious improvement. Once they were upstairs, he kissed her passionately. The 2 of them became so noisy that even a staff member downstairs could hear what was going on. At that moment, Meng returned to the shop because she had forgotten her bag. As soon as she stepped inside, she noticed the strange sounds and moans coming from upstairs. She stood quietly, listening for several minutes. He didn't seem to get tired or slow down. She was, in fact, rather impressed by his stamina. Still, she was running late for work. Before leaving, she decided to tease them one final time and shouted that she was leaving now, making it clear to both Chen and Shen that she had heard everything. Chen, upon hearing her voice, became terribly embarrassed, while Shen seemed to enjoy the idea of having someone listening in on his performance. He made another silent promise to himself that Meng would be next, especially after all the teasing she had done. Meanwhile, in the school office, the secretary was speaking with Professor Li. She informed him that one of her students had a lot of money and wanted to invest in the startup-based program. Li was skeptical and asked whether she was certain that the money belonged to the student and wasn't just being flaunted on behalf of his parents. She assured him that it was his own money and said she had personally checked the student's bank account. According to her, he had close to 10 million Chinese yuan. Li was shocked to hear that a student could possess that kind of wealth. He asked her to bring the student in so that he could meet him in person. She advised Li to be more friendly since the student would be acting as their sponsor. Li told her not to worry, but added that he needed to keep the student in check so that he wouldn't get too full of himself. Back with Shen, who was still having his fun with Chen Na, he received a call from his teacher. The teacher told him that the secretary wanted to hear his report in person. Shen was immediately suspicious, feeling that the school was treating him like a fool and likely planning to take advantage of him. The teacher put the phone on speaker so the secretary could listen in. Shen said he was very busy with investments and didn't have time for a meeting. He told them the secretary could get his number from Professor Li if he wanted to talk. Then he ended the call. Li, who overheard the exchange, was genuinely impressed by Shen's boldness. The school secretary was furious. Noon ever dared to disrespect him like that in the school, and suddenly he got hung up on. But he had no choice, since the base project is very urgent, and not finding sponsors will get him into trouble with his boss. He told Lee that they will invite him to dinner and talk it out. She texted him what the secretary has told her, and Shen felt very content. Now he has an advantage over them, and all they can do is let him choose who will get funded and not. Chen stood up and told him that he can cancel dinner with her and should go to that meeting. He admired her consideration for him. Suddenly, he got a call from Huimin. She asked if he was free this evening. They can walk around the field. He asked teasingly if she's sure that she doesn't want a cold drink. She told him that she can't, due to her period. Everything made sense to him since she didn't invite him and met him the whole week. He told her that he will come and pick her up at the dorm. They finally met, and she greeted him with a hug, saying how much she missed him. She kissed him on his cheek and asked, "What are they?" Since they did everything couples do and done even more. So she wanted to make sure and not get the wrong idea. Any woman would want commitment. He knew this was a tricky question, so he has to answer with caution. But since she already likes him, he told that they are pretty much a couple. And she's his only girlfriend. She was very happy with that answer. He told her that he will buy her nice things later, maybe a car and house. She said it's too expensive, he shouldn't waste that much money on her. He assured her that it's all ready, and she doesn't need to worry about his money. He will buy her a house, and the car will be bought when she needs it. And then he walked her back to the dorm. Tomorrow he needs to go somewhere far to claim the mansion he got from the system. While he was driving, he received a video call from Menglu, calling him skinny and inviting him to the gym. He told her that he isn't coming, and she should be more decent with her looks. While Menggu wad thinking, she was suddenly greeted by Zhou. She was signed to the same gym as her. She asked what made her look so happy in the morning. She told her that it's just a friend of her. She mentioned that one of her friends got a super rich sugar daddy lately. He bought her a house and a coffee shop this week. Zhou told her that he must be old and cranky. Even still, it would be so worth it if he was that rich. Meng told her that he is younger than her and her friend, and very handsome and tall. He is perfect and wanted by any woman. Zhou asked if that friend was that beautiful to catch a guy like that. She said that they are about the same in terms of attractiveness. Shen texted her that he is going to Qingzhou Lake to receive a property. She asked if she could come along. He said that he's going alone, but if she wants, she can be with him while he signs the papers. She got a big smile on her face. Zhou asked if she got more good news. She told her that the one sugar daddy she was talking is letting her come with him. She apologized and said that the needs to cancel her class for the day, and she will refund her double if she wants. Zhou was impressed by her eagerness and boldness to steal her friend's man, so she let her be. The other make trainer in the gym tried to talk to her, but she ignored him. She left the building and went to Shen inside his car. Zhou was watching from afar. She recognized his face. She was shocked to realize that the person she was calling sugar daddy is her ex-boyfriend. He became a multi-millionaire after 2 weeks of their breakup. She was regretting every decision she had made so far. She had dumped him to go out with Hu Jun. At that moment, she received a text from Jun, asking her to meet up that night. In the heat of the moment, she told him to screw off and blocked him without hesitation. Now, she was wondering if she still had a chance with Shen. The least she could do was try to win him back, even if it meant sharing him with the other girls. Meanwhile, back in the car with Shen and Menglu, she mentioned that his car was big enough for outdoor camping. Her tone was teasing, using playful words to provoke a reaction, but he didn't think much of it. She called him annoying and laughed, brushing the moment off lightly. After about 30 minutes of driving, they arrived at the real estate building. They met with the agent, who asked Shen if he wanted to take a look at the mansion before diving into the paperwork. He replied that he would sign all the agreements first and then go see the mansion. Once the contract was signed, he took the agent and Menglu with him in his car to check out the mansion. The agent felt pressured around Menglu. She was more attractive, and there was no way she could compete. Menglu didn't need any special skills. Her looks alone could drive any man crazy, while the agent saw herself as just an average girl. She didn't even try to compete. When they reached the property, Menglu was genuinely impressed by how large the place was. She became more determined than ever to take Shen as her own. The agent continued explaining the details of the property to Shen, mentioning that he could choose designs and decor that would match the interior. Suddenly, a system window popped up. It stated that the next task was to decorate the house. It granted him 20 million Chinese yuan exclusively for decoration and design. He was surprised. The house had only cost 10 million. Still, he had no choice but to obey the system. Keeping his thoughts to himself, he asked the agent to connect. him with some interior decorating companies later. He called it a day and told them he would leave. Menglu asked if she could take some photos to post on her social media. He agreed, telling her that as long as his face didn't appear in the pictures, she could do whatever she wanted with them. He then asked how many followers she had. She had around 50,000, most of them local. She asked him if he wanted to secretly watch her videos. If he did, she could send him special ones just for him. As they got inside the car, he asked if she wanted to go back to the gym now. He said he was planning to go play some basketball. She mentioned that they were playing too harshly yesterday. One of her friends got hurt. He suddenly stopped the car. A memory came rushing back to him. What had happened the day before and how she had eavesdropped at the coffee shop, listening to their actions for a while. He told her that he would make her pay for that, but she refused. She didn't want to give in so easily. She couldn't let him take control of her. She wanted to own him like an obedient dog, and if she could do that, he would end up spending even more money on her. He stopped at the gym so she could get out. Once she entered, she was confronted by the manager. He told her that she had missed one of her classes and caused trouble for him. She replied that it was due to a personal matter. He kept scolding her, but she walked away, ignoring him completely. There was nothing he could do since she was highly valued by the owner himself. She stepped into the training room, her determination sharper than ever. She was going to win Shen. She was going to make him obsessed with her.